Hey everybody, Professor Paul here, and I want to share with you some amazing Zen strategies that are going to help crush your anxiety instead of your anxiety crushing you. Now, my promise to you is if you watch all the way through the end, you're going to have new tools, strategy, and techniques that are going to give you a huge leg up on your anxiety, and you are going to start crushing it. Now, to accomplish this amazing feat, I'm going to tell you a story about me, a very personal story about me, literally the way in which I was created. So this shows me how desperate I am to help you get over your anxiety that I'm willing to share these personal stories with you. And hopefully it'll give you a chance to get to know me a little bit better at a deeper level and understand why I give all this free content away, because I just really want to help as many people as humanly possible get better and not have anxiety, not have depression, not have addiction, not have these crushing mental challenges, because nobody should have to go through that. When I was 13, my parents and we went through a dramatic change. We lived in Longmeadow, Mass, and my parents bought a store called a Montgomery Ward store, and it was in Bellows Falls, Vermont, and we moved about 2 hours away. It was 2 hours north of us, and we got a little apartment, and we started running this store. That was great for the summer. Then I started going to school, and that's when I died. You say, Paul, how can you be dead? I'm looking right at you. Well, let me tell my story. The kids there hated what's called flatlanders. They hated anybody that was from the south of them. I don't know why. This was a wild prejudice, but they thought it was worth taking me and beating me about the head and face pretty much on a daily basis, always taunting and teasing and ripping up my books and knocking me down and slamming me about the head and face. Any single nasty thing they could think of, times about a dozen of these kids around the clock, pure torture. After going through this for about 9 to 10 months, my brain lost it. I went into what they call in psychology a fugue state, which means you're kind of almost mentally unconscious. You're functioning, you're going around, everybody would think you were normal, but you have like no perception. It's almost like a drifty dreamlight state. You're kind of there, you're kind of not there. And I went through that for a couple of months. And then my mind resolved the issue. You know how it did it? It killed me. Well, how do you kill you? Oh, very simple. The way to get over the fugue state and to lose all this emotional pain was to erase Paul Klein. We make him disappear. We just erase his memory. Basically a blanket form of amnesia. I could only remember about 1% of who I was, just enough of a thread of a story that I could get through life and kind of sort of remember, who my siblings were and who my parents were and what town I grew up in. But everything that was a memory for me in the 99.9 percentile was gone, including my lovely experience in Bellows Falls, Vermont. So essentially, I died. Who I was in every way, shape, and form, gone. And I'll tell you an interesting fact. You would think later that would come back. No, never did. It's not a TV show. It never, ever came back. I literally had to recreate everything about me. It's one of the great reasons I became a therapist, because when people tell me you can't change, I changed instantly. I had to redecide every single thing in my life. And I learned that I could do that. And not just when I was killed. I could pick any point in my life and say, this is the dividing line of my life. Would you like to do things totally different? And I could start doing it. Thinking different, acting different, hanging out with different people, using different philosophies, different strategies, going entirely new directions. I could do that. That was my gift of having died. So I want to tell you a story about one of the kids that came back. He decided a couple of years later, after I've gone from Bellows Falls, died, went across the river to New Hampshire, just a couple miles away. It was a totally different environment, good, kind, loving people. I met a wonderful man. His name was David Blyle. He was a Kung Fu instructor. He taught me everything I needed to know about life and about Kung Fu, and I became very powerful. I was like the Chuck Norris / Bruce Lee of the area. I could take on a dozen guys by myself, and I'm not bragging because he could take on 20 or 30, and his instructor could take on 30 or 40. These guys were amazing. They made Bruce Lee look like nothing. You'd never seen something like this up close. So all of a sudden, my old torturer comes back to me. I'm literally going from New Hampshire. I mean, not metaphorically, physically, going from New Hampshire to Vermont across, it's maybe 300-foot bridge. It was one of the largest span bridges. It went from North Walpole to Bellows Falls, Vermont. So this guy comes with his very large friend, and he starts torturing me. He decides he's going to beat me about the head and face like he did last time. And even though I could have totally taken him out, no sweat, and his friend, and just completely embarrassed him and knocked him to the ground, I did not do that. I still had fear of him, an irrational fear of him. Even though he was kind of a little bit smaller than me, his friend was a little bit bigger than me, so this was a fair fight. But I wanted to get rid of that irrational fear. That's like your worry. That's like your anxiety. The fear is the worst part. So I did a strange thing. I let the guy beat me about the head and face. And he's smacking me in the face, and he's like, I can kick your butt. And I just stood there like this, flat. And then he punched me a few more times, and I just stood there. And he says, when I come across the street, you're going to walk the other way. And I said, no, you can walk on the other side if you want. And he hit me a few more times. And he said, I can kick your butt anytime you want. So you could try. I was so flat-faced. I was so calm. Even though he's punching and punching and punching, I just sit there like he wasn't doing anything. I'm looking at him just like I'm looking at you right now. I let it go. I was no longer afraid of him. My worst fear was that he would come up, he would capture me somehow, and he would beat me up. That was the original fear when I was a kid. But now I held my pants up with a black belt. And I had to have one experience to let that fear go. And that's what you do with your worry. When your worry says, I can get you, I can get you, I can get you, I'll tear you apart. You say, like Bruce Lee, you do the come here thing. And you say, come and get me. Like in the Rocky movie where he said, hit me harder, hit me harder, hit me harder. You call that punching?
Hey, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
Look, the strategy, that's all. I know what I'm doing.
No, you don't know what you're doing. He's just a man, right? Just a man, right? Be more man than him. Go get him. Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. Up and down, side to side. All right.
Come on, whole world's watching.
Knock me out. Come on, knock me out.
Come on, harder.
Get me hard. Get me hard out. Come on.
My mother is on it. Come on, a little harder. A little harder, Jim. Hit the face. Come on. Again, you ain't so bad. Again, come on, Jim. You ain't so bad. There ain't nothing.
That's how I felt on the bridge. Now, this guy loved the challenge. So he came back again. He caught me right near my store. He actually pushed me into a doorway. And it was this curved doorway. So you were stuck in there. I mean, you couldn't hardly move. And I thought I was completely trapped. And he said, I'm going to kick your ass anytime I want. I said, no, you're not. And he threw a punch at my face, and I went like this, and his hand went beside me, and it slammed into the steel frame of the door, and you could hear the ringing sound. And oh my God, that must have been so painful. It was a sickening sound. Ouch. And then he tried to punch me in the stomach, and I did like a Karate Kid thing where you just kind of let it go by you, and it drifted by. I just turned to the side, and he completely missed me, and he slammed his hand again.
Drum technique, understand?
Then he did it to the other side, and he slammed his hand again. Then he couldn't take anymore. And he's walking away like this, and he says, if you ever do that again, you got to walk on the other side of the street or you're going to get more of this. And I said, hey, anytime you want to come over and slam your hands into steel reinforcing rods, I'm your man. That's standing up to him, but not taking the hit. A lot of people ask me, they say, Professor Paul, what is the best way to deal with a difficult emotion? I said, it's the Kung Fu version. I asked my instructor, I said, what's the best way to block a kick or a punch? He said, I know. When they throw the kick or the punch, don't be there.
Best way to avoid punch, no be there.
Don't receive it. Don't even try to block it. Just let it go by you. Dodge, weave, let it go by you. That's what I was doing. And that's what you can do. Don't take in all this anxiety and worry and everything and then try to somehow push it out. Somebody's going to offer you the opportunity to be nervous about something, to get anxious about something, and you say no thanks and you let it go by. Don't let the emotion in. You don't have to get the emotion out. Now, my friend was very stick-to-itive. He decided he was going to catch me on that bridge because he said, I know he's got to go across that bridge. Let's try that again. It worked out so well the first time. He tried to take me on himself on the bridge. And he's throwing punches and I'm blocking him. Of course, he's not hitting me. Finally, I slam him up against the rail. He's trying to choke me. I'm choking him. And what I did was I grabbed him by the throat. I grabbed the rails and I started crushing him against the rails. I'm pulling the rails in and there's no room for him. And I'm literally crushing him between my body and the steel rail of the bridge. And he is like turning blue. His rib cage is about to crack open. In desperation, he literally reaches over. He had no arms. All he could do is try to bite me, and he bit the side of my head, and I got blood trickling down the side of my head. So I said, I don't want that. I grabbed him by the throat, and I literally pushed him over that rail until he was hanging upside down about 30 feet over a frozen Connecticut river. His life was literally in my hands, and I just left him there for a while to think about all his life choices. And then finally, I pulled him back up. I wasn't going to take any more crap anymore, and he needed to know who was the student and who was the master. And that I accomplished. I beat back my fear, my anxiety. I beat my enemy. Matter of fact, after that, he wanted to be my buddy, be my friend. Paul, you're not such a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to be fighting like this. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. And I said, you know what? Maybe another time, but not today. And I let him walk away. I had to go through my stages. And I think we do that with worry anxiety. You got to see that stage one, worry and anxiety cannot beat you no matter how much it comes after you. It's just fear. And fear has no substance whatsoever. 2, you don't have to let this fear in. You can let it go right by you. The kung fu of emotions. Just let them go by you. Never deal with them. Get out of here. And 3rd, kick their butt. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm faster. I learn the specific tools, strategies, techniques to beat you. And then I use them and I win. And anxiety, you lose. That's what you're going to see inside my trainings. I try to make all my trainings fast, simple, and easy. So everybody from a drug addict, high school dropout, closed head injury, low-level intellectual functioning person who can barely tie their own shoes, to a guy with multiple PhDs can understand this stuff and apply it immediately in their life and get positive results. So, like, share, subscribe, share to keep the goodness going, share this with somebody else, and go down through the playlist. I've literally given you everything inside that playlist that you need to deal with depression, anxiety. I started doing some addiction stuff. I'm going to spread this out so it hits basically all areas of mental health. So no matter what your challenge is, I'll be able to help you. I'll go on that journey with you. And together, you and I are going to beat all of your challenges because there's nothing fundamentally wrong with you. Here's the only problem you have. You don't know how to do something, so you can't do it. That's step 1. That's why you're here. You don't know what to do. Step 2, I show you what to do. You know how to do it. You do it, and the problem goes away. It's literally that easy. You're frustrated because you're like the guy there trying to change the combination lock, and you're trying and trying and trying, and you're putting your whole effort in and your whole intelligence in, and you're trying, and you're like, why can't I get this darn thing? But then somebody can come by and just say, hey, here's the 3 numbers. And you pop them in, and the door flies open. Psychology does not have to be hard because I don't overcomplicate the simple. I just give you what you need. So go down through my playlist. It's all there. It's my gift to you. It's all free. There's nothing to buy. I mean, I do have a website where I've got some higher level courses and things like that, kind of all laid out in one place, just to make it faster and simpler and easier than pouring through all the YouTube videos. But I just use that to keep the lights on and feed my wife and 3 dogs. That's it. Otherwise, everything is free and you never have to spend a penny. Just subscribe, keep coming back, do the work. I want you to know already, before you do anything, I'm proud of you. Because you listened this far, you're obviously doing the work, you're obviously a good-hearted person like me, and you deserve to get better. My name is Professor Paul, and I'll see you in my very next training.